Hey everyone. Okay, we can get this started. For the holiday, I thought I'd try something a little new here. This is what I am kind of calling. Oh, hey everybody. So, for the holidays, I thought I'd try something kind of new here. This is what we are kind of calling, some kind of Star Trek. I thought was a good title for it. Let me turn this on. Okay, so I have some retro games. You know I like the retro games. And here I have actually assembled 12 Star Trek retro games for us to play through perhaps at some point. I'll do this multiple times going forward. And every time we beat one, we can take them off the list. Maybe if we decide one of them sucks, we can do the same. So, let me show you the wheel here. There we go. So that's all 12 of the games I have that are running on my retro machine, which this one can stream from. You can see that I think most of these are actually next generation. Some are original series, and there's one DS9 game. They did not make many DS9 games. So, I think this will be fun. We'll do a spin. I can spin again if we see gifts or subs, but if we play the same game for hours, that's cool too. And it should be fun. Meanwhile, I can talk about Star Trek. I'm pretty familiar with it, besides watching all the shows, although I've not caught up on some of the recent ones. I haven't watched every episode of the recent seasons of, say, Discovery or Strange New Worlds. I'm get rid of the YouTube. I have also read a bunch of the books, and I ran a Star Trek role-playing game for 5 years, set in kind of the post-Nemesis time frame. We had a blast with it. It gave us something to stay social during the initial pandemic lockdown and all that. So we can go ahead and give ourselves, do the quick start here to see what game we start with. And all of these run. Some of them I will need to learn how to play a little more than others. Let's give it a shot. Away team. Okay, okay, okay. You might not have heard of Away Team. I can get this going. Away Team is a strategy game, like a ground strategy game. If I had to compare it to something, I might say Fallout Tactics. Let me put this on because it's an interesting one. Um, I played most of the way through it back some years ago. Let me add also a picture here. Nope. Okay. It's set, of course, in the next gen time frame. It has appearances from, I think, both Worf and Data. So Michael Dorn and Brent Spiner are both in it. And let's put this off into the corner, kind of just above me. Awesome. Yeah, you might not have heard of this one. It is a unique kind of game in the Star Trek game series, as we have seen them. Turn it on. There we go. No, yeah. So, Star Trek Away Team. Yeah. And here, go ahead and start our new game. Select our difficulty level. I'm streaming. I'm gonna do easy because otherwise if I get stuck on something for a while, it sucks for everybody. So.
Captain Raffelian's log, stardate 54801.3. The maiden voyage of the USS Incursion has proven successful. Commander Data, the crew's technical advisor, has joined us for the first test of the holographic masking system, a technology that allows the Incursion to disguise itself holographically as any ship. During our test, we infiltrated Klingon space and received a distress signal from a Klingon cruiser under attack from a Romulan warbird. By disguising the Incursion as another warbird, we tricked the Romulans into departing the sector temporarily and rescued some of the Klingon ship's crew. The Klingons told us that La Troll, a nearby Klingon research station, was also under attack by Romulan forces. Starfleet Command has ordered the incursion to investigate the situation discreetly and rescue essential Klingon personnel. Sensors are detecting massive firefights across the station between Romulan Centurions and the remaining Klingon warriors, so the situation is extremely dangerous. I have no doubts that the away team I have chosen will handle the situation appropriately.
Okay, there we go. So, yep, we are pretty soon, late next gen, kind of getting into DS9. It's... Let me show you how the game actually plays. But I like the holographic ship because, hey, we already know about those. The Romulans had one in Season 4 of Enterprise. Pretty good technology. Crazy that nobody ever used it after that, but that's how television shows work, so...
The Romulans have breached most of the Klingon defense systems and will soon control the entire station. You will likely encounter strong resistance from Romulan forces. Your primary objective is to rescue 2 captured Klingon scientists to ascertain the purpose of the Romulans' attack. Your secondary objective is to assist Klingon warriors directly engaged with Romulan Centurions. Since this is your first mission, I will monitor your movements with the incursion sensors and guide you through some of the encounters.
Stay focused on the mission objectives and watch your back. Outside of this area is a battle zone, and there's a Romulan target that's in our way.
Select your entire team by clicking and dragging a selection box around them. When they are selected, click an area behind the Romulan to move the team into combat position.
Okay, one of the other things about this game is that we're going to be pausing to issue orders a bunch. Let's see, make sure we have these controls correctly. So pause, enter, select entire team A, yeah. Toggle visual cones, toggle sound cones, so there is going to be a fair bit of stealth in this as well. Display objectives, toggle minimap, yeah. Zoom in and out, good stuff, okay.
Once the team is in position, right-click on the lower right inventory bar and select the phaser. Now move the cursor over the Romulan. When the targeting cursor turns green, click to fire the selected weapon.
Okay, to get the phaser, the person we're looking at doesn't actually appear to have a phaser.
I am prepared.
There we go. Turns blood green while we're over them. No, that was not correct. There we are. Okay.
Excellent. That task is complete.
Now, sneak around the building to the north and avoid the landmine. You can press your pause time key to freeze the action in pause time, allowing you to issue commands to your team. After issuing orders in pause time, press the pause time key again to return to real time, and the team will perform their tasks.
Okay. And this refuses to use the actual widescreen. I can go ahead and just make the art here a little larger so it's more obvious to folks passing by. Let's get those controls again. Yep. Run, crouch, walk. We have quick hits, quick buttons for the phaser and all that. Yeah. And we can set up shortcuts for a bunch of other stuff that we will use in the future, including a cloaking band to cloak an individual. Neat stuff. Okay. So we hit C. They all start crouching. This is a concussion grenade. Let's get that. And the one thing I thought we might want to have is a quick save button. Doesn't appear to exist here. That's too bad. How long does it take us to actually save? You can see I've played this game a little before. I never finished it, but it was interesting. If I type out quick, it becomes quick. So,
There is a Romulan lookout ahead. Click on the vision cone icon at the bottom left of the screen, and select the Romulan to see his field of view. Then select Tandorla and equip her sniper rifle. Have her move into a firing position that avoids the Romulan's line of sight. When the crosshairs of the sniper rifle are green, you have a clear shot.
okay. You also see that our team here, of course, is our Federation mixture of various species. We got a human, we got an Andorian, we got a Vulcan, and we have a Russian. So.
I know just the cure for that.
Logical.
Okay, this Federation sniper rifle. Move so we have a view. We also want to see that vision cone. Okay. Not yet. There we go. Good stuff.
A well-thrown concussion grenade from Captain Raphelion would likely incapacitate the group of Romulans.
I lead by example.
Got him.
All of the Romulans attacking the Klingon have been eliminated. Approach the trapped Klingon warrior so he is aware of your presence to complete part of the secondary objective.
That's right, and we have our objectives also. Nice. Alright, let's go. That's walk. Do we have a run? Yeah, it's the R button. I don't know why I thought it might be anything else. Okay.
Federation soldiers, I am grateful for your assistance. Now I must battle more Romulans. Kapla!
Blah.
I recommend taking a path around the battle area to avoid a crossfire between Romulan and Klingon forces.
Might increase the volume here just a little on our away team.
Next, select Medical Officer Serta and order her to crouch by toggling the movement mode icon at the bottom left corner of the interface. Then move Serta behind the Romulan guard and use her neural disruptor to incapacitate the Romulan.
This'll only sting a little.
Okay, we send in our medical person who has the neural disruptor. Yeah. He appears to be Andorian.
Sweet dreams, Romulan weasel.
We do not have the name indicating one of the 4 Andorian genders, whatever, that is kind of talked about in the books, but, well, that never got canon, did it?
Sensors are detecting a small cloaking signature near the Romulan vessel. Engage the Romulan Centurion and acquire the portable cloaking technology. Ivan Varov, your science officer, should be able to use the cloaking device.
So, retrieve the Romulan cloaking band. And so this is the sound also. So you can see that while they're crouching and walking, they make... Oh!
Sex, attack me!
Okay. So that's our pause. But they turned and saw it. So...
I concur.
And we also have our Vulcan get into position to take down the other. Okay.
I'm hit!
One phaser blast didn't hit them, huh? Okay. Why don't you also just phaser them? Good stuff. And those expanding circles coming out from the phaser shots were not big enough to get to our friend here, so we are fine. They are going to get into position. Let me... Skip in-game movie is space. Yeah, let's... Okay. I want to make space pause. We're not going to skip any in-game movies, so it's fine. Yeah, we'll make it tilty. Okay.
Federation intruders!
On it.
Okay.
I concur.
Good stuff. Not the cloaking band.
Typical shoddy Romulan engineering. But I think I can salvage this cloaking suit.
Extremely Russian, man. Okay. We did good. Remember, there is a bit of save scumming in this kind of game. At any time, something can go terribly wrong and we lose our guys and we need to reload. How often is it, say, auto-saving? No. Doesn't appear to have made one. So,
Of course.
we can take our guy. Use the cloaking band. And we are also being all sneaky.
Federation dog.
Oh, we saw the other people, so what's it matter?
Damage sustained. I am prepared.
Okay, we're good.
Товарищ.
Buddy. Does it recharge? Does not appear to be recharging. Okay, so we can move all our people up. Got a hypospray cartridge refill.
I know just the cure for that.
A sniper rifle
Of course.
clip. And another concussion grenade.
Captain ready.
This is a funny little game, and I got it maybe 5 years ago. I found it on GOG and thought I'd try it out. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to tell everybody to shoot. I right-clicked instead of left-clicked. That's me being dumb. Now we are rescuing 2 Klingon scientists that are being held captive. Get up and run. Let's go take a look. Well, we want to go rescue the other Klingons under attack by the Romulans, don't we? Let's go.
Of course.
A little closer. It was within his range, but the thing that let us through there didn't account for the fact that there was something in the way. Okay. Let's go. Nope.
Thomas,
Fixing away. Good. Keep going. This is
Intruder.
primo Starfleet training. Got it.
Thomas.
Go talk to our other Klingon friend here.
Well fought. These Romulans stand no chance against our combined might. The Romulans are trying to capture our scientists and their research. We must not allow that to happen.
You got it, buddy. Couple. And the third one is down here. Okay.
Federation dog.
Damage sustained.
Federation intruders! Jamas!
I will
Not bad.
toast your honor in Sto-Core. Or at least my comrades will.
So we got all 3 of those. Bring up the map. And it looks like the 2 scientists we have to rescue, the objectives are north, northeast, and south-southwest. We're closer to this one. Let's go get this guy. Have an easy way. There we go. Okay. Good. I think that we also have an energy on the phaser as well. We can set it to kill if we want, but we probably don't want to do that. Federation rules and prisoners are more valuable than corpses.
I'm hit!
Once the area is secured, move Science Officer Ivan Verov to the control panel. Then use his computer skill to deactivate the force field.
I am under attack.
Hitting the force field there, that's a shame. Okay.
Of
Verov,
course.
Get in there.
I can hack into this with my tech kit. I can hack into this with my tech kit.
You honor me. 2 other scientists left to meet a Federation vessel before the Romulans attacked. The scientists were asserting a recently discovered alien contagion. We must not allow dishonorable Romulans to possess such a weapon.
Energize.
Of course.
So, we have a medical person. Can we heal the other members of the team? Yeah, we can. Check that out. Also get Verov. Cool. Okay. Like we got one guy. Oh, it's a Targ. Okay. And this won't pathfind over longer distances. That's interesting. Let me... Good. Got the Targ.
Of course.
Okay. Got that one, but I
This'll only sting a little.
think this thing has ammunition. That's why we were picking up clips, mags for it before. Okay. Everybody get ready.
Intruders!
Cameras, aid me! I'm hit.
Okay. Oh, no, we're good. Get in there. Okay.
Da, comrade.
Ah, comrade.
Federation officers, your assistance is surprising, but certainly welcome. The Romulans attacked us without warning. They are attempting to steal our research. They must not be allowed to take the contagion. I assume by your presence that the other researchers that left before the Romulan attack made it through to Starfleet.
I know nothing about these other researchers. I must get you to safety. Energize.
Captain, long-range sensors are detecting Romulan vessels entering the system. I recommend we depart quickly. What is the status of your team?
Mission objectives are complete, Commander Data. 4 to beam up.
I didn't save one of them. One of them got shot.
Captain's log, Stardate 54802.7. We have interrogated the rescued Klingons and learned that several of their fellow scientists left the Locktroll station yesterday. These Klingons were planning to rendezvous with a Federation starship, the USS Lake Gulf. According to the salvage medical records, these researchers had a highly volatile biological agent in their possession. I have relayed this information to Starfleet. Admiral Nolatai immediately ordered the incursion to pursue the researchers and find the Lake Gulf. Our ship's sensors have been tracking an ion stream left behind by the Klingon researchers' shuttle. We expect to locate the Lake Gulf in a few hours. Captain's log, supplemental. After adjusting ship sensors to detect the ion trail of the USS Lake Gulf, we have discovered the starship adrift in the Omegal sector. Despite significant damage to its hull, shields are still functioning, preventing us from beaming a team over. Engineer Slovak has already prepared a shuttle that can penetrate the shield harmonic and board the Lake Gulf. We do not yet know if the escaped Klingon scientists or their mysterious biological agent had anything to do with the attack on the Lake Gulf. I am confident that my away team will soon learn what happened.
So, Starfleet has a ship named Lake Gulf. Are they naming ships after World War II battles? Just random things on Earth? Unclear.
Select your entire team, now.
Okay, so add officers to the away team. And we have a pretty big crew to pick from. Includes our 2 command people we can do. Here's the full list. Okay. Right now, the 2 we have are, of course, our good Captain Raphelion and Slovak, who is not Slovakian, but is a Vulcan and an engineer. Looks like we also need somebody who's good with computer systems. Yeah, they have the uniform colors on here, too. So gold is our engineers and security, blue is our medics and sciences. So we need an engineer with computer systems, or a scientist with computer systems. So we know Verov has it, Raxus. Yeah. Okay. Alorum Voss also has it. Yeah. All the scientists have it. Wes Pulaski. Related to Dr. Pulaski, I assume. Responsible for the creation of the teleportation brig. Really short little bios for each of these people. Who do we like? We liked Verov last time. We can go ahead and bring Uraxis. 5 different ratings. Uraxis has better stealth and better stamina. And Pulaski has better stealth. Alright, Uraxis, you're in. We have 1 more spot. Probably want to do a medic. As much as I'd kind of like to take a dedicated security person. Thatcher, Mikala, and Serta Dequa, who we had last time. Let's go ahead and take Thatcher, who is our chief medical officer for the ship Incursion. And I think that's it. Yep. Okay. Give it a shot.
Despite internal damage to the ship, sensors are detecting numerous life forms on several decks. Begin your investigation by proceeding to the turbolift. From our scans, we have determined that Captain Jirai and the Klingon scientists are currently on the security deck. It is logical to assume that Captain Jirai will be able to explain why the Lake Gulf is disabled. Go to the security brig and discern what happened to the Lake Gulf.
Okay. Get our save in. I like these neat shuttles. Ooh. Yeah, that shuttle isn't looking so great, but that's ours. Incursion. That's theirs. Lake Gulf.
And hit!
Okay, so
Excellent plan. And hit!
buddy, are you also ready to go?
I'm under attack.
Taking these people a few hits, huh?
That was a Federation crew member. Why should they be attacking us? Team, set your weapons to stun.
Okay. We might have killed that guy.
Of course.
Science will guide us.
I guess we were killing all those
Yes, sir.
Romulans. Oh well. Yeah, I think the voice acting is pretty good. But they put production values into this, so it has... We've been listening to Brent Spiner for a while. Even though it's funny to get an actor that qualified to say, right-click on the lower right corner of your inventory. I think is always funny. Okay, I'm doing more of my saves coming. Are there others? We have other people, right? Yeah, if I have all of you selected, why are you not coming?
Logical.
Affirmative.
Did I give them move orders that were a little too far for these people that were further away? Okay. Get over there. Oh. Oh, fine. Okay. What do we got? More force fields up here. Go around the corner. This looks like a turbo lift. Take a look.
Of course.
This guy is our... No, computer skills are the
Science
scientist.
officer ready to go.
We need her.
I live to protect.
I lead by example.
What do we got?
To access the turbolift, move your cursor over the turbolift door. When the interact cursor appears, click on the door to open the door. The team will then enter or exit the turbolift accordingly.
Alright, nothing else going on here. So let's all get in the turbo lift. Listen to some elevator music. Oh, that's a good message. Shame. Okay.
Certainly.
This person does not have a neural disruptor to knock people out quietly from behind. An extractor. Oh,
Yes, sir.
because we need the medic. Yeah, that's right. Okay. One in there. Let them walk back by, and then we can get him from behind.
Certainly.
My oath binds me.
Looks like we don't have anybody down the adjacent corridors. Good. But we do have somebody in here who is walking around. What's our objective? Oh yeah, I killed that guy. That's okay. Find the Klingon scientists and question them about Rigel 4. Okay. Ascertain what has happened aboard the Lake Gulf. That's pretty...
Of course.
Yeah, this guy's moving around at random, so we're probably not going to be able to sneak up on him like we just did. Nope, do not just shoot the door. Okay, move, 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 shocking off. Okay, great.
As logic dictates. That mind is shielded from me.
Okay. Nope, do not just shoot the door. Keep forgetting, the right click is to use the tool that they have up. That's highlighted in the little menu here. So.
I should replicate some aspirin.
Who else do we have here? Another turbo lift. Got a triple bedroom. Got some prisoners up here. Maybe that's useful.
Affirmative.
Where are you going?
This area is
I'm under
restricted.
attack! I'm wounded!
So my other thought is, do they get back up from the stun? They do. That's good to know. Okay. We got one more up here. Okay.
Science officer ready to go.
Science officer, work the computers.
The captain and the crew are infected. You must stop them before they destroy it.
Captain Jirai, you are in violation of the Prime Directive. You will surrender immediately.
No one will leave the ship alive. Our plans will not be discovered.
Slovak, Captain Jirai needs your enhanced mind meld.
Of course. My mind to your mind. Your thoughts to my thoughts. Fascinating. Captain Jirai's mind is fragmented. His thoughts are chaotic. The experience is quite unpleasant. No one will leave this ship alive. Our plans will not be discovered. Captain Jirai has sabotaged this vessel by closing the emergency plasma cooling vent for the warp core. If we do not reopen the vent, the warp core will rupture and destroy this ship. We must make our way to the turbolift with haste and gain access to the vent controls.
There, go ahead and save that.
It's hard for me to believe that Captain Jirai would turn rogue like this. Besides Captain Picard, Captain Ricks, and a handful of other elite command officers, he's one of Starfleet's best captains.
Empirical evidence suggests Captain Jirai didn't willingly choose to go rogue.
Always the warp core.
Turbolift system reinitiated.
Stop!
I'm hit!
Lockdown on corridor 7
Someone out
Gamma.
here? Oh. I'll point out, it auto-paused there. The warp core is the one thing that can explode and destroy the ship, so I guess there's a reason everybody's always interested in it. But right now, we clearly have the thing that happens on every Starfleet vessel, every other week. They've all been mind-controlled, blah blah blah.
Give it up.
Hey, buddy. And down here, yes, is where we want to go. So. Force field, can't get through that. Good.
I should replicate.
Okay. The stun seems to do him in one hit. I think it's better than kill in some ways. Do we have a way here?
Certainly.
Certainly. I'm a command officer, not an engineer.
Of course. I should be able to use my terminal repair skill on this.
Was that not... You repair it?
Science officer ready to go.
Yes, sir. The plasma buildup is reaching a critical level. I believe I can override the vent subsystems from this console. The warp core is stabilized and the temperature is dropping. Tapping into the ship's computer, I have also downloaded the late Gulf's recent logs. We can take these back to the incursion to learn what has occurred here.
Okay, we did it. And we didn't find the Klingon scientist. That's fine. Also, we killed a dude. Whatever.
Congratulations, Marcus. Your team did very well. The information they gathered gave us some clues about the late Gulf mutiny. Medical logs from the late Gulf indicate that the Klingon scientists had been transporting an unidentified biological agent. The logs did not contain enough information for our scientists to determine the nature of the agent, but there are other references that concern Starfleet. We were able to isolate some encrypted files from the late Gulf's main computer. Most of the information is still encrypted, but our specialists managed to decipher enough of it to determine that the mutineers aboard the late Gulf were planning to deliver the ship and the crew to the Romulan outpost Chetsia 3. Now, we have no solid proof that the Romulans created the biological agent or directly caused the mutiny. So I'm ordering the incursion to proceed to Chetsia 3 and infiltrate the outpost. Gather what information you can from their computer networks without being detected. The news of the late Gulf mutiny concerns me greatly. I knew Aaron Jirai personally, and I believe he would never intentionally act against the Federation. Yet I can find no reason for his treachery. We've had limited progress breaking the encryption of the late Gulf's main computer files, so I'm recalling Commander Data to assist with the investigation. While we continue to analyze the files, it's imperative that you proceed to Romulan space and investigate Chetsia 3. If the Romulans have created a weapon that can disrupt entire starship crews, we must eliminate that threat immediately.
Okay.
Select your entire team, now.
Okay, and this time we have all 4 slots wide open. So we can't take our good Captain Raphelian, like every good Starfleet captain, leading missions on his own. We also have Commander Friedman, okay, with a sick Pacific Islander face tattoo. And we have Lieutenant Oxula, Betazoid. Can't quite see it, but there's a little wrinkle there in the nose. It's very cute. Required items, so we need computer systems and security doors and systems. Must be something these people have. No? Looking nerve pinch. So if I add these people in, does that give us... No. So who has security doors and systems? You? No? Oh, okay, so it's something the scientists have. That perhaps only one scientist has. Okay, your access, you're in. She provides both computer systems and security doors and systems. So otherwise, we probably also want a hypo spray. Yeah, I think that's reasonable to get somebody who can heal. We took T'Qual last time, or first time. We took Thatcher after that. Nikala, you're in. What's your deal? Another Betazoid. Okay. Remember, the Betazoids have irises that are totally black, so it looks like it's all pupil. The idea was that that made them kind of more cute or attractive, and so the female lead-ish on Next Generation, that's who that was for initially, Deanna Troi. Okay. Let's get also somebody in security. Ah, Sinjin Kirk, huh? I wonder if there's any famous descent there. Frank Kirk's kid, perhaps? Or grandson or something? Speed 50, stealth 25, stamina 70. So he is the fastest, but he's also in the worst shape and the loudest. But a sniper rifle expert. Yeah, why don't you get in there, Kirk? And let's take somebody... Oh, we also wanted an EM pulse grenade. Who has that? Commanders? Oh, she also has security doors and systems. That's good to know. Caution. Proximity. EM pulse grenade. Okay, so that's engineers. Brexon, Ijula. Brill. Yeah, get in there. And, that hits everything we need. Let's take Lieutenant Oxila to get some more security doors and systems. And also... Also, she has a hypospray too. Hey, that's useful. With some medical background. Awesome. And knowledge of explosive devices. Great. You're in. Let's go.
The team will beam in just outside the outpost. You'll need to guide the team to the remote terminal located here. To lower the containment field, you'll need to access 2 security terminals within the outpost. If the team is seen by any of the surveillance towers, the evidence will have to be erased. This can be done at the remote terminal.
This area supports an abundant variety of plant life. With my extractor, I can collect plants and make useful items.
She has a good voice. Useful item.
I was here 100 years ago, long before the Romulans claimed this planet. One of my previous hosts, Hasdan Ijula, loved to hunt here. I still have fond memories. But now that the Romulans have moved here, I have new prey.
Guys, do you like Star Trek? There's a lot of Star Trek in this Star Trek game. Okay, so we apparently also have crafting. See what we can get. Herbal healing. Okay, I don't think we need that. Well, that's handy. Go ahead and do our save. It looks like we have somebody lurking out here. Any other avoid Romulan detection? That's might be tough. Avoid Romulan security towers. Keep Romulan casualties to a minimum. Well, we can try. We'll be good.
Romulans react poorly to seeing their dead comrades on the ground. We can use my teleportation brig to dispose of any incapacitated guards.
Nice. Teleportation brig. So now we can stun them and then send them back to the ship to sit in the brig. Hey, that's much more useful. I thought I saw red down here.
Be careful. We do not want to be caught by those surveillance cameras.
Surveillance camera. What here is a surveillance camera, do you think? This thing? This waist-high pedestal with what appears to be a control podium on it? Perhaps? We have some things here that look like streetlights that I don't think we can actually interact with. We know that the objectives had security towers listed. I'm gonna guess this is a security tower. Okay. We're looking to get here to these pedestals.
I'd be delighted.
Okay, comes out to the end of the patrol path, immediately turns around. And the camera does sweep over pretty much where we would be to work on the pedestal.
Of course.
But it really is just going in circles. No, it's a more complex path. Getting back here. Arguable as to whether or not the pedestal would get it. No, I don't need the engineer. I need the person with the...
Certainly.
Security doors and systems.
Federation dog.
Well, we got spotted. I didn't realize he turned around that quick.
Ah! I'm hit!
Federation intruders!
Of course.
We got this person who has the teleportation brig. Not clear to me exactly how that's
delighted.
Of course.
Okay. Did I need to actually... Oh. Oh my god. Alright. Well...
Science will guide us.
Look, I professionally did science. I don't believe it guides us. Okay, that has been checked off. It's no longer appearing on the map. So now we can, yeah, move.
Intruder!
Oh, yeah, it's us. Okay.
Intruder!
I'm hit!
All right, we'll do it live.
Oh. I'm under attack! I'm hit! I'm under attack!
Intruder! Intruder!
Come on, guys. Why did I ever pretend it was going to be anything other than us just sprinting through this outpost?
Intruder!
I can do this if I use my security
Excellent
skill.
plan.
Yeah, we don't care, camera.
Oh!
Okay.
Yes, sir. I have tapped into the remote terminal and downloaded the pertinent information in the database. I have also eliminated all surveillance evidence of our mission. Away team to incursion. Ready for extraction.
Hey, we kept the casualties to a minimum. Good work, us. It's not clear to me what the secondary objectives
Captain's
do.
log, supplemental. I continue to be impressed by the skills of my crew. The information recovered from the Chetsia 3 database contains vital access codes that might help Commander Data unlock the Lake Gulf's main computer files. In addition, we recovered transmissions between the Romulans on Chetsia 3 and the USS Lake Gulf indicating that they had been communicating for the past 3 weeks. Accumulated evidence indicates a conspiracy between Romulan forces and a splinter Federation faction. I can only speculate as to how deep this conspiracy might run.
I think the Federation and Starfleet have something like 12 conspiracies going at any given time.
Using the access codes from Chetsia 3, Commander Data decrypted the protected files from the Lake Gulf's main computer. Hidden in those files is a disturbing communication web between the group of Romulans on Chetsia 3, the Lake Gulf, and a secret cadre of Starfleet officers on Earth, called the Wardens. According to the translated information, these Wardens are under the command of Admiral Quay, the new Commandant of Starfleet Academy. Regrettably, whoever or whatever compromised the crew of the Lake Gulf has also corrupted several ranking members within Starfleet Command. Admiral Quay has surrounded himself with powerful allies, and he influences both Starfleet Command and Starfleet Academy. I can't move against him directly. Marcus, I need the incursion to return to Earth immediately to stop the insurgency before it spreads. Nullify out.
Sir, we just finalized the designs for a remote-controlled explosive device. We have been able to stabilize the remote mechanism to function in just about any environment. This weapon will allow security officers to place mines and detonate them at whatever moment they choose.
Great, so we can blow up Starfleet Academy. Looking forward to it.
Select your entire team, now.
Okay, so this time, again, computer systems, security doors, and system. She had security doors and systems, which is useful, but Praxis is the one who had both computer systems and security doors and system. Is the only one that has both of them. Verov still has the cloaking band. Useful. Interesting that they can't hand things off to each other. Let's take her again. They don't actually level up or anything that I can tell, so... But if we get them killed, hey, they're gone. I think that's a reason why we have at least 3 people in each position. Because it is possible to lose team members. We also wanted the EM pulse grenade, perhaps something I should have used on those cameras before. Something the engineers have. Who is this? Sedek, Slovak, Jula. Get Sedek in there. And maybe also an actual doctor. Mikala, you did nothing last time, you're in. Okay.
The away team will beam in here, beyond range of any security cameras. If a camera spots the team, we must then proceed to the surveillance control building and erase the evidence. Our primary mission objective is to disable the campus security systems located here in the security wing. Once the security systems are offline, we must gain access to Admiral Quay's office located here in the administration's building. Admiral Quay must be rendered unconscious before we beam him aboard. Remember, this is Starfleet Academy, so casualties are not permitted.
So, we aren't allowed to kill anybody here.
These guards that oppose us are innocents. No harm must come to them. Use stun weapons and stealth tactics to avoid confrontations.
It's okay that we killed that dude on the Lake Gulf, he was ugly. But now that we're on Starfleet Academy, we are not allowed to kill anybody. That is a lose state. Keep all Starfleet Academy personnel alive. They're kids, we don't want to hurt them. Also, avoid detection, hey, we'll see. When I was playing through this game on normal difficulty and I did this level, it actually took me a lot of save scumming to get through this stuff. Tell me if you've played one of these top-down stealth games before. We'll see how we do. And do we have actually... yeah... not that different from the Romulan base, but a fair bit. Okay. So we are trying to get to security. They have a wall here, something that all campuses have to separate buildings. No, actually that this is a raised area is also awkward. Walking around down there. Alright. Everybody get out your phasers. It's done. We are not killing kids today. Like this is a path here. We're warned about security. There's a camera. Which I cannot get a vision cone on. No, there it is. Okay. Are there cameras this way? So we can't get through. No. We can't get up there. There. Camera there. We get here, we take the long way around this building, and we get in. That should do it for us. Okay.
Certainly. Science officer ready to go.
Okay. He comes back around. Oh, I can just hold the plus. Yes. There we go. Okay. Boy, that looks crappy when you zoom out a bunch. You don't have a knockout, do you? I meant the medic.
I'd be
I'm
delighted.
smart.
Certainly.
Sir.
Give it up.
Alright. Okay, whatever.
This area is
If I can maneuver close enough, I can use my electromagnetic grenade to disrupt the surveillance monitor long enough for us to pass by. Certainly.
that.
I'm under attack.
Oh my god, guys. Where? Oh, you're still over there. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. Boy, sometimes you can just lose sight or control of like a couple of them. Huh, alright.
Certainly.
What was that?
Halt!
Stop!
Not in the face!
Hold!
I think we only need
Sir.
the
Affirmative.
computer person.
Give it up.
I'm
Oh,
hit.
hey.
Hold!
I'm hit.
Stop!
I'm hit.
Affirmative. This looks like the work for a science officer.
A Bolian's word is true.
Looks like the work for a science officer, but apparently I can't tell her to do it.
I had a feeling you'd ask.
Quickly and
It
efficiently.
will be done.
Going on here. Okay.
What a headache.
I have disabled the security system. We should be able to move around the campus a little easier, as well as gain access to the main administration's building where Admiral Quay is located.
I'd be delighted.
All clear. All clear.
Are we outside yet? Okay.
Away, team. I've just intercepted an encoded transmission pertaining to some new holographic technology being developed here in the Starfleet Academy Science Lab. Find out where the plans are stored. It'll be a great asset to your arsenal.
Okay. And that was this. Okay, can do. It doesn't look like there are that many people still kind of wandering around, so... And the cameras are dead.
Stop! Give it up. This area is restricted.
Yeah, just run. Okay, the map doesn't look like it's putting the markers in the correct location. I'm gonna guess it's the thing in the back. Yeah.
Certainly. I am downloading the schematics and plans for the holographic technology now. I should be able to replicate its design back on board the Incursion.
Retrieve surveillance evidence. We have not been seen by a camera, so I don't think we need to do that. Oh, look at this. They got this statue of the Phoenix out in front of the main building.
Be careful, everyone. Admiral Quay is the Commandant of Starfleet Academy. Security will be tight, and we don't want to harm innocents.
Okay, how do we get in there? We have this big room with a single chair in it.
Hold!
And hit!
Stop! Security! Stop!
Without being detected, stun Admiral Quay. Okay. Wow, and it's not at all sorting these saves for whether I just did them or whether I did them. Interesting. Oh, and this is a totally different team, so this is from my previous run. That's funny. Yeah, but pretty much the same. Does that mean this is normal and not easy? Ooh, let's see. Nah, it's easy. I was always easy. I'm always lazy. Okay.
Medical officer, ready.
Come on, buddy. You can do it. Oh, does that kill them? Yeah, okay. Alright. Well.
Aye, sir.
I really did not know that. Phase neural disruptor. Huh. Come on, buddy. Turn around. Oh my god.
Engineering, commence the transportation of Admiral Quay when ready. Good work. Now let's get out of here before Federation's... Captain's log. Supplemental. After the away team brought Admiral Quay to the incursion, our medical team performed a thorough neurological examination. Dr. Thatcher believes that a highly advanced device, one beyond current Federation technology, was used to alter Captain's log. Supplemental. After the away team brought Admiral Quay to the incursion, our medical team performed a thorough neurological examination. Dr. Thatcher believes that a highly advanced device, one beyond current Federation technology, was used to alter the Admiral's brain for some specific purpose. We attempted to question Admiral Quay, but conventional interrogation proved ineffective. With my permission, Slovak performed a Vulcan mind meld to extract some vital information. Slovak sifted through Quay's mind and discovered that these wardens intend to strike against Commander Data to stop his investigation. There is some small satisfaction in knowing Admiral Quay did not willingly commit treason. It's possible there is a connection between his condition and the biological agent from the Klingon station. But until we isolate the cause for the Admiral's condition, I have quarantined him to sickbay.
Captain Raffelian, your team has done Starfleet a great service by exposing the Warden's plot. Unfortunately, I suspect Starfleet Command is still controlled by a faction of Wardens loyal to Admiral Quay. If the information gleaned from Admiral Quay is correct, Data is in grave danger. When Data arrived on Earth, I ordered him to continue his investigation at Starfleet Command Headquarters. He has not reported back since. All my efforts to investigate the Admiral's allies have been blocked. And since there is currently no way of detecting whether someone is a Warden agent, I have been unable to move directly against them. I am ordering you to send a team to infiltrate Starfleet Command and rescue Commander Data.
My work on epidermal matrices has finally paid off. I believe I have further isolated a non-organic Klingon chemical compound that aids in recombination. All of our medical hyperspray should now heal with greater efficiency.
Select your entire team, now.
Computer systems, usual. Lauren Voss, get in there. The hypo spray. Okay. Mushroom grenade will get Captain Raffelian, and also got a sniper rifle, huh? Who else has that? Kirk is the best with the sniper rifle, it looks like. That means we don't have a security doors and systems. Yeah, Raxus is still the best for that, aren't they? Okay. And also, this has been a fun little test
session. The team will be beamed
Oh.
near a location where our operatives have opened a temporary hole in base shielding. Make your way inside Starfleet headquarters to the War Room, where Data is currently accessing the central database. Once you encounter Data, leave through the rear exit and make your way to the base shielding area. The shields will have to be taken down before the team can be beamed out. We believe all of these guards to be Warden operatives, so use whatever means necessary to secure your objectives.
Okay, so now we're allowed to kill people. It's been a fun little experimental session. It's also my lowest viewer count in a long time. I'm gonna cheat a little and switch games. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Oh, and that got us 25th anniversary. That one I still don't have the controls entirely down. I'm gonna cheat again. Crossroads of Time. The single DS9 game. Okay. Let me spin that up real quick. Like nobody's around, nobody's on Twitch in the middle of the day on a Friday. This is it, Star Trek Deep Space Nine Crossroads of Time. It was released on both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Here we have our little attract screen showing off what this game is. It's a platformer. Okay. Okay, so he gets summoned by Odo. We are in his office, presumably the Buck Book Eye baseball card is on his desk. We got our nice action-y Cisco here. If I hold a button, I can make him walk instead of run. He does have a jump. Look at that, Starfleet training. And we can talk to people, but we have to be the right distance. Interesting game. Everything in order, Major? Yes, Commander, nothing much happened. Even the Cardassian ship below our pylon 3 is behaving. I'm sure they'll be fine. Oh, great. Nothing wrong, O'Brien? The security guard is malfunctioning. The security grid is malfunctioning. Bloody Cardassian equipment. Always breaking down. Yeah, plenty. Of course we have. Hi, Jake. What are you doing? Hi, Dad. I'm waiting for Nog to show up. Good times. So here we are. Got a Cardassian guy just kind of hanging out here. And it tells us what each door is as we go by it. We can go to Quarks. Wow. Okay. And Garrick. There we go. witnesses, so we can't arrest the attacker. He doesn't know who it is. Okay. And we can go upstairs. Not much up here, though. Down, even though they are also behind me. Okay, and there's Bashir, Eric's boyfriend. Okay. Now I believe we have to go back to Ops. Nope, that's Oda's office. Which means we gotta get back on the turbo loop. Oh, and I left up the wrong picture. Doesn't really matter, no one's here. Thought that was a good one. Anti-proton emissions. Okay. Did you know that we have protons or anti-electrons, but we don't really have a similar name for anti-protons? We just call them anti-protons. Okay. Oh, that's our office. We wanted the turbo lift. Okay. We pick up their phaser. Nothing goes to waste. I looked at this. And so this, when we get the other platforms open, I think we can transport between them, but right now, not so much. We switch items. We have the phaser and the tricorder. And Cisco, we can sometimes get him to jump up platforms. Yeah, okay. Axid has found a Bajoran planting a Viturium bomb or something. Quickie Benjamin. Put it into the nearest ejection tube. Okay, good. Like we have another one over there. We're detecting transporter activity in your area. It's coming from a Bajoran ship that left the station earlier. Raise shields. I don't want any more of them. Beaming in. Okay. this way of grenades. Scans show you've got more to deal with in the next section. Power cells of bilatrium grenades leak antiprotons. Use the tricorder to find them. Okay. They're no longer on the walls blinking anymore, I guess. We have the L and R buttons, which switch the items we're using. Ooh, and a password. Naham. I actually have a list if we just want to skip stuff. Okay. Entering Pylon 3's superstructure. I'm scanning enough emissions for 5 grenades in your area. Commander, someone sabotaged the security grid in your area. Destroy any devices you find attached to the optic cables. Remember, Star Trek computers are optronic. So, which means they use optrons. And that's just what we call them. Okay, terminal malfunction, that's useful. Nope, there's a wall there. Okay. There. Okay, and a teleporter. So. How we expect to find the bombs. Do I just have to go scan every area? That's a wall. That's also a wall. We have a few different kinds of walls. They're not cloaked, are they? They're going to be in things when we find them. Oh. Okay. There. Yeah, okay. When we get close, a little thing appears. Alright, that's good. That's a wall. We don't appear to have a floor in that direction. The tricorder's just kind of telling us where they are. Oh, Haley! No, not Halo Quinn. Sonia got a subscription. Okay, Sonia, welcome, welcome. Let's go ahead and switch here. I have exploded. This is a good death screen, though. Okay, subscribe for 3 months. Yeah, that means we bring the wheel back up. All right. I didn't see that. I thought this was supposed to do a, do I not have the alert? I do have the alert box. I wonder why that didn't... Okay. So, let us go back to the wheel. Sonia, been going for 3 months. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see what's next. Blue screen of Star Trek death. Yeah. Is there really nothing else that's gonna... Yeah, you just start through it. Whatever. Okay. So, here we have the wheel again with all 12 of our Star Trek games. Let's see what happens. Okay, we almost had Elite Force, but we're on Futures Past. Let me bring that one up. And... Okay. We have our captain's log. This is... I didn't even press anything. This is how the game just started. Let's go ahead and put up the picture for this one, too. Okay. Yeah, Sonia, look. I know, Birth of the Federation. I wanted to get Birth of the Federation going. I actually downloaded a copy of the CD that it was installed from. Did not get it. Oh, no, not that one. I couldn't get it working. And people don't really have an easy-to-download one anywhere, and it's not on GOG, it's not on Steam, I know. I wish it was going. I would love to conquer the galaxy as the Ferengi, but here we are. There we go. And let's turn up the volume on this guy. Yeah, okay. So, Birth of the Federation is a game I actually had as a kid and played a fair bit of. Now we can go ahead and put that beneath. There we go. Okie doke. Alright. Oh, do you have a copy that works? That's awesome. But yeah, so here we are, Captain's Log. The Enterprise is currently patrolling a region near the Romulan Neutral Zone. Romulan High Command claims a team of their researchers vanished into the Neutral Zone over a month ago. Do I need to be doing a Patrick Stewart voice? Starfleet offered to... I can't do it. I have nothing. Starfleet offered to assist as a sign of goodwill, but the Romulans declined, citing security reasons. 3 days ago, they asked for permission to enter the Neutral Zone and conduct their own search. Of course, Starfleet refused such a one-sided breach, given the sensitive nature of this area. The Enterprise has been sent to monitor the Romulans' activity. And here we go. So this game, like, when you're just on the Enterprise, you're on the bridge, and it spins around, and you can work different sections. And we have all of our crew just sitting here. Except, you know, Geordi's in engineering. He's the only person on the ship actually doing work at the moment. I am Teleris, Doctor of Archaeology, investigating the legend of the Integrated Field De-Randomizer at the ruins on Codus Mu 6. I have just detected a Romulan ship approaching. I am in need of Starfleet assistance. She's out there doing doctor stuff. Okay. Codus Mu 6? Yeah? And one of the funny things about this game... No? Is that it lets you set the warp. But as you can kind of see, it's calculating the time it would take to arrive anywhere based on how these warp speeds are actually supposed to be. So here, if I'm traveling at warp 1.0, same speed good old Zephyr Cochrane did, it'd take us 36 years. The game won't even let us hit the button. Its numbers don't go that high. It's double floats are only, so... we increase it 3 years. Remember, this is an exponential thing. 342 days, 128 days. Okay. We can go ahead and start going there at 808 hours. And it's not actually 808 hours. It is faster than it kind of appears. So... Oh, what just happened? I didn't hit the button. Oh. Please send a Federation ship immediately. The information hidden on this planet will be of great value to the Federation if we can keep the Romulans from salvaging it. I have taken refuge in the ruins. Please send help. This is so that we have the address again in case we didn't get it last time. Okay. We'll go Warp 8. Look at that. Look at these graphics! How good are these? Friends, I played the crap out of this game. I finally beat it maybe 25 years after I had played it for the last time a few years ago. I don't remember what happens, or anything that happens. And here we are at the planet. So other things we can do on this bridge before I get down there. The transporter room is how we actually do send an away team to deal with whatever's happening down there. We do this a fair bit. Engineering is to turn, like, there are ship-to-ship battles. This is where we can do repairs or something like that on various parts of the ship. Probably want life support going. Wait, who'd you meet? We have computers, which has a bunch of weird, like, lore information about Star Trek Next Gen. Marina Sirtis, that's awesome. I met Jonathan Frakes at a convention once. I thought that was neat. So, like, it has not only information about various crew members here. It's born in Valdez. Named after the Exxon Valdez? Okay. But also just general universe stuff. Oh. I remember reading through the computer entries in this game for a while, just a dedicated nerd. Federation membership. Okay, and this says, yeah, to join, a planet must satisfy, so this is how you know you can join the Federation. It's funny. Xanatos action figure. Yeah, all these people were they all did voices on frickin' gargoyles back in the day. I loved it. Had her sign a Demona. Good work. Yeah. And... Development above F according to the Richter scale of industrialization, and 78% social development according to the Federation scale of ethics. Somebody wrote all this stuff. This is great. Yeah, except Patrick Stewart. He had stuff going on. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. An Alpha Centauri 4 with the planet of Athens. I think this is the only place I've seen that referred to as Athens. All this stuff. All of this is in here. I think it's just great that some nerd they had on the team wrote this stuff up. There's also a password system, so you can skip ahead in the game rather than saving. Oh, he couldn't meet his asking price. I believe that. Yeah. Then we have sensors. Let's take a look and see what it says about this planet. 1.22 Gs. That sucks. Land mass, 54% more land than Earth. And we also have life form scans. 1 Vulcan, 3 Romulans. Also relatively cold. Ruins and a small outpost. Yeah. And there's a Vulcan researcher there. And then the last thing we have is the briefing room, where we can go and Picard will say, hey, you should do some stuff, you idiot. And now that I haven't actually done the transporter room, I'm gonna bet she's yelling at us. Uh-oh. Romulan subspace message intercepted by Starfleet. Text is encrypted. Code is unavailable. I think we are eventually able to get the code. Okay. So, let's go. The Enterprise has responded to a distress beacon from Vulcan archaeologist Dr. Taliris. You know, Vulcans, when they're women, a lot of time have T names, men and not to have T names. Anyway, she claims to have been harassed by Romulans at her dick. There's no sign of a Romulan ship in orbit, but that doesn't rule out their presence on the surface. We haven't heard anything from Dr. Taliris since we got here. Semicolon. She may have taken cover somewhere. Remember, this is a Federation world. The Romulans should not be here. Be careful. And now we can pick our crew. So, we have not just our 7 main characters here. Of course, we can have Picard beam down himself. Then we have a bunch of other randos. I'd say red shirts, but they do have blue or gold shirts. And the funniest thing about this is that not only are our main characters have better skills, but the advantage of the randos is that they can freaking die. If one of our main characters gets injured enough to the point that they would be at death, immediately they bam the badge, beam us out, emergency beam out. If one of these other people, say Ensign Vince Matthews, takes enough damage to die, they're just dead. Who cares? Their spot here on the beam out gets totally just blacked out, so they're done. But you can continue the mission from where you got to, and maybe that's what you're looking for. So let's see. Yeah. So we probably want to take Riker. Okay, nope, that's beam down. Okay. Hold this button to switch between them. Geordi. Crusher. Let's take, do we have anybody else tactical to do a raid? Yeah, Leslie Mizell. These must be producer pictures. Somebody doing life forms. Boop, 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 boop. Love it. Okay. And, Joyce Worley. Let's go. So, we do have, fights in the ship, where we fight other ships and all, but I think most of the game probably is down here. Double Vision, welcome, welcome. So you see in the lower left, we have both the health and the phaser energy. We can totally deplete a phaser. It's possible to find stuff to recharge it. Come on. Okay, we almost got Mizell killed. Oh, and Sonya also checked in. Great. So, let's grab Ensign Worley. We can shoot diagonally. I gotta be hitting both buttons at the same time to do that, but I think I can do it. I have this set up to totally steer a Super Nintendo controller with one hand. It's just easy. It's all on the numpad. I did this for years, but I'm trying to get back into it. Oh, come on. There we go. Pretty easy first mission. Thank you for coming to my aid. The Romulans might have seriously disrupted my work. And she's posing in front of Rebel. Cool. Uh-oh. This is an interesting little interface for this. And they're hailing. How do I accept the hail? Okay, there we go. X and Y at the same time. It is possible to just keep going and kill him. Interesting art on the Romulans here. Enterprise, we tried to hail you. Our navigation system was damaged, and we drifted into Federation space by mistake. Be more careful in the future. Your attack on our vessel has nearly cost the peace of the neutral zone. And I believe if you do destroy them, yeah, you end up fighting some Romulans through the rest of the game. This is Admiral Baldwin. We received a distress signal from Orientis Alpha 4. Their plague has been spreading. Deliver medical aid now. You handled the battle with the Romulan scout ship well. Again, we get chastised here. Allowing its captain to state the Romulan position. We don't need to make the Romulan situation worse. We've been intercepting lots of coded Romulan messages. I'm worried they're up to something. We need some way to break their code. Run an emulator. How do I Save. Okay. So. What was that? Orientis Alpha 4, I think I heard? Nope. I pressed back too many times. Nope. So, it does the same. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm dumb. Here we go. If your engines take damage, that does limit the maximum warp speed you can fly in this game. It means it takes you longer to get somewhere. It's not clear to me that has much of a gameplay reason, except for just dedication to the universe. Yep, here we are, flying. So... if we need the address again, also, we can bug our best friend. Oh, here we go. Another fight. Romulans again. Yeah, I have shield quadrants and all, so make sure that... I think my phasers took damage. And I have torpedoes on the front and the back that load independently. Neither of us firing torpedoes? Or phasers? Crap. That was a mess. Almost exploded them. Doesn't do us any good to explode them. We have many wounded among our crew, including civilians. Our honor tells us not to surrender, but more practical considerations dictate otherwise. Our lives are in your hands. And that is not a Romulan vessel, so we have arrived. Note that we are at a derelict ship that is in orbit of the place we were going to. Yeah, and the plague is spreading. I'm sorry, here, let's go. Orientis Alpha 4. Yeah, and we discovered a derelict ship in orbit of the planet that we were delivering medicine to. Let's go to engineering and see how we're hurt. Engines are hurt. And yeah, the engineering resources are then kind of weighed against basically how stuff is damaged. Some stuff is much easier to fix than other stuff, so it doesn't expend your resources to the same degree. But the big three, shields, weapons, engines, yeah, that'll do it. Impulse engines are damaged. And we have encountered an alien ship trapped in a decaying orbit around the moon Alpha 4b. It appears to be in grave trouble. Who are the crew of this foreign vessel, and how did it fall into this dangerous orbit? We must rescue the vessel and crew before they crash. So, I think I'm probably gonna bring Data this time for some reason. Let's bring a medic. Crusher is the best, but you can see among the skills at the bottom, tech, tac, health, and strength. Health is what gets depleted when they get shot up. It's been long enough that apparently everybody we brought last time has healed. But yeah, tech is how you heal also. So let's do that, and then we can bring in someone we dislike to just go do dumb stuff. Yeah, Russ. Cola. Yeah, that's okay. Alright. Now, sometimes in this game, you will beam into places that are dark. Kind of hard to navigate, but we have two characters who can see in the dark to some degree. One of them is Data, because his eyes are crazy. Some robot eyes, he sees infrared and ultraviolet or something, I'm sure. But the one that's really made for it is Geordie, because he has his visor on. Okay. So... pick things up. And as you might guess, boy, this looks like a little pipe. What is it? Pipe Dream, the name of the game? The doors don't appear to open. Let's see what we can do. There are a couple levels in this game that are kind of trying to be actual Star Trek in that they're less about shooting, more about solving problems some other way. I like that they tried to do that. So, Pipe Dream doesn't appear to be here. What else can we do? Nothing here. This needs a tank, it looks like. No tank there either. And then we have these. Laser energy, hell. It's a video game. These look helpful. Okay. Can't pick up the other because these characters have our favorite thing in video games, an inventory limit. Also, the inventory, I'm doing L and R to go between it. They don't wrap around. That's an interesting choice. Walk back and get the other. No, there's also no run or anything like that. This is just how fast these characters are gonna move. Buddy, get in there. You can do it. Interesting. Is that not working? I could have sworn that's how you did this. That time it worked. Okay, lights are on. Data is also the toughest of our characters, as one might guess. And if you heard that sound, that means there's a bit of shooting. think those machines only spawn robots when we're standing near them. Otherwise, they're, like, not active. But we'll see. Okay, and these have labels. This looks right. That is not right for that one. I do not see another place to put it, so. What's your name, Russ? Get in there. He's a red shirt. It's a space corn maze. Oh. Alright, take that. And these things. The other useful thing about the people, about the red shirts, their inventory is pretty open. There we go. A lot of them only ever carry a single phaser, and that's it. So they can carry 5 more things at once. Handy. Engine's online and out of control. Okay, so we'll shut that back down. Hey, Chef. So, for folks who might have come in recently, I have set up 12 90s, 2000s Star Trek games to go between. And you can feel free to sub-gift or whatever. To compel a spin of the wheel again to get another. Oh. Okay. Ah, and here we go. Okay, alright, I think we want a tricorder in here to deal with these guys. Jordy, you're up. Oh, that's right, and you can get them— I forgot about this. How do I do that? You can get them to follow you. I forgot that was a function in this. Local security disabled. Okay, yeah. So we have a tricorder, we can do that, and it's not going to make any more robots. Very handy. So let's look here. Does this panel I'm carrying does not look like it's good for any of these spots. See if there's any more of these robot stations I need to shut off. Ooh, there we go. Lasers, they're strong. All security disabled. Well, now we're fine. We don't gotta worry about the robots except for the ones that were already made. Technical solutions are better than flexing at things. And if you're curious, no, I don't have Birth of the Federation. I couldn't get a working copy together. There are a couple of other weird ones I don't have. This looks like it goes here. Nope. None of these look like they have a place on this board. Okay. Us. The Star Trek New Worlds thing, where you're building a colony for the Federation or something bizarre. Yeah, I couldn't get a working copy of that either. And the other one, no. Okay. Ada. Okay. That's all Data can carry. Hey, a shuttle. Alright. Anything else in here? Yeah, and this is the third game we've been playing today. I also don't have the FMV ones. They haven't re-released any of those. So I've got to fake a CD or something to get those working also. But I'd love to do Star Trek Klingon or Star Trek Borg. I played Borg, I had that one actually back in the day. Nope. This one, though... Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Dr. Crusher, you do not have a phaser, but I think we've turned off the robots, so... Also, if people have questions about Star Trek, I'm pretty knowledgeable about it, besides watching, you know, all the shows except a couple of the recent ones. I've read a bunch of the books. I ran a tabletop role-playing game of Star Trek for 5 years. Been fun. Nothing up here? No further pieces? Okay. I saw the Caspian Explorer. Yes. It really does look like a Starfleet vessel. Nope, that's those folks again. Yeah, which they were clearly doing on purpose, because if you look at the bridge, also, it has a station... Here's where we need to put that other thing. It has a station like Spock's old one on the original series, where he puts his head up to some viewers. And then makes a report to the captain. It looks like something perhaps more scientific is actually happening. That's on the bridge of the Caspian. They knew exactly what they were doing. Okay. And that's it. Okay. Russ, you have that power generator, whatever the heck that is. Compressor. Okay. And we have some pods in here, looks like. Okay. That's not a breakthrough? Okay, that's just a busted wall. Alright. And also, if you didn't see this, we have these red shirts we can take on the missions too. This guy is Russ. He's an ensign. He's doing his best. Still missing a couple, aren't we? So he went through the maze. Was there another door over here? Oh. Is this at the maze? Yes. The entire thing where they're setting up missions that are supposed to be not just shooting, but have other things going on. I like them doing that. I remember Star Trek Online kind of trying to do that too. I thought of putting Star Trek Online in this list of Star Trek games to rotate through also. I have played some of it, through the stuff that's been free recently. Okay. Okay. Was there anything else in here? Yes. But ultimately, a lot of that, like, the non-combat missions are you running through an area, getting to the end, and hitting a button. I didn't think much interesting happened. My favorite part of that game was building my own ship. You know, getting my own ship, giving it a cool name, and flying it around. Still missing a straight piece there. Yeah, which we do not have. Data, go check this corner again. See if I missed something. Ah, I did. Okay. Computer repaired. Russ, you have the honor. We are the U-Nations. Thank you for rescuing us from our ages-long sleep. Our ship was so heavily damaged that we won't be able to use our Avad when the IFD arrives. We are beaming it over to you. Please accept it with our gratitude. Use it wisely. Thank you, you guy with the weird earlobes. Save this here. And I'm gonna guess, I think it gets repaired while we're on those missions. Yeah, so... Okay. Enterprise, what's the matter? Oh, we never actually delivered the medical supplies. Let's do that. Now that our engines are repaired, we can actually go there. Gotcha. You have arrived with the medical supplies just in time. In another few hours, this plague might have wiped out half our population. Amazing how plague works like that. Okay, well... Baldwin here. Starbase 220 just received a distress beacon from Orientis Gamma 3b, a mining moon rich in palletium and riverium ore. 10 miners are trapped deep below ground. Be careful. It's not a friendly place. Now, what was that location again? Do you recall? Orientis Gamma 3b. rotate so we get those hits on different parts of the shields. They're actually sextants. We have 6 areas of the shields that can take hits. And the 2 bars in the lower left are the enemy's shields and health, top to bottom in order. And my phasers are damaged again. Oh, that was the wrong angle. It's kind of funny how you're playing with the momentum of the Enterprise on this. And I forgot, we also have an auxiliary power, so the yellow bar there is our auxiliary, which we can spend on weapons or shields, I believe. Thank God we avoided war with the Romulans. Opening hail. We'll keep opening these hails each time. Combat seems easier than Wing Commander. It's 2 dimensions instead of 3. We have many wounded. Boopa boopa boo. This is the same thing we heard before. Thanks, man. Okay, it looks like we have arrived. Let's make sure stuff is getting repaired correctly before we beam down. Probably want life support going. When the navigation takes damage, it can, I'll show you. It can actually mess up your little on here. No, this looks like it's working, so not enough damage. Okay. We've received a report that 10 miners are missing below the surface of this moon. Find them and make sure they're safe, but be careful. This moon is largely unexplored and there may be some dangers we don't know about. So, funny thing. This mission where you're going down to the mine does not have air at the moment. Let's see how that works for everybody. So, people's health is going to start to go down because it turns out they need air. When we get these levers, and there are multiple levels of the mine, the air turns on. Cool. The health is no longer going down. Awesome. But each level, when we go down to it, does not have air. That means we only have a limited amount of time to find air. Except for our one crew member who does not need air. Lieutenant Commander Data. When I played this originally, as a kid, I beat the entire thing with just Data. I had the other 3 spots for the beam down just empty, and I had Data rescue everybody. You can't do that because you're finding power-ups to restore the health and phasers and all that anyway, and maybe it is a smarter way to do that, but yeah. We can bring Worf here. Get in there, Worf. Oh, it's Data. We hear some digging. And a mine that's in trouble because there are some creatures here digging through the tunnels. Tell me if you've heard this before. Okay. Yeah. Nothing here but the health. Go ahead and get it. Feels better that he didn't breathe. Don't need more phaser energy. Oh, and there we go. We also, unlike original series, are not solving this planet by mind melding with those guys, unfortunately. But we can't just blast through stuff, that's fun. Jurassic Park is a fascinatingly weird Super Nintendo game. Yeah, I played that. I rented it as a kid from the video store. And I have also played it on an emulator a number of times. How do I get you to follow me? What's the follow button? I don't remember. Nope, that's the beam up button. Okay, well. That's if I press X and Y at the same time. You just bail. Good stuff. Whatever, we only need... Let's only bring data. And Ensign Simrad. Hang back here, red shirt. So, the first person in Jurassic Park, I think, is hardcore. I think that qualifies. And it's like very slowly you moving around and turning, and then you just blast whatever weapons you have at the dinosaurs you see. Yeah, it's, it is amazing what they were able to accomplish with the SNES's technical abilities. But it is not a good game. Yeah, it's hard. Uh-oh. Ultimately, I think also these mine creatures just kind of go away on their own, so we can probably just let them do that. Fine. Yeah. We don't need to... We're just here to turn the air on. Tell you what. I think I might bring up a map for this, because this place is annoying. Let me put a map here on the other screen. Not that. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, let me start on... Okay. Yeah, okay. Oh, they're shooting at me! Oh no! Come on, man. I'm going away. Just let me be. This map does not look quite right. I think the map might be different on the Genesis version. That's funny. Oh, go away. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There. If this hits him, it makes the thunk noise that people get when they get hit. Yeah, okay, there I am. That's a trapped miner. We don't want to free them yet because I've not yet turned on the air. Like it's down this way. You're okay, Data. Suck it up, Android. That's not right. Good sound effects on those guys, these worms coming out of the ground and just spitting these funny beehives at us. Yeah, doing this level as a kid took forever. Yeah, so that takes us back to the elevator. And it really is just this way. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I recently watched somebody go through that Jurassic Park game. It's an interesting construction. Hey buddy, you're free. And I think this is part of what we have to do is free all the miners. I'm looking at the map here. And it's another one of these video game locations where they have multiple elevators, but each elevator goes between 2 floors. Why would you design such a thing? Yeah, I don't know, video games. I am sorry if this has made you want to play Jurassic Park. I apologize. And there's one more on this floor. Okay. No, this is not a through path. Of course it's not. Oh my god, you have Birth of the Federation? You have an install file for it? Okay, I'll drop it in and I'll put it in the list for next time. Absolutely. Okay, and there's our third guy, so now we just need to get on the elevator to the next spot, which is a different elevator than we got to this spot on. Please go away. Very dangerous. Oh, and mods. Okay. I don't know anything about the mods on that game. I want to go this way. Alright. Awesome, yeah. Go back to your NES. It misses you. It loves you. It is now a dark brown from being exposed to sunlight. Okay, this goes down to the next floor. And where is this one? Yeah, so we have... And then there's an up and a right. Yep, okay, got it. And I turn the air on. Oh, goodness. Where the heck is the switch for the air? Oh, okay, now I see it. So, this is designed... There's a Stargate mod for... Yeah, okay. These levels are designed to allow them to be done by people who really have to hold their breath before they get to the levers. So the levers are always near the elevator when you first come onto the level. But... Just use Data. Data's so good. To go... Yeah. Alright. I have some phaser energy up here. Okay. You don't even take damage by touching them. It's only when they shoot you with the beehives. Oh, and there's another one that I would have gotten anyway. Well, so it goes. I got that guy, I got that guy. Okay. Please excuse me, sir. Stargate mod. Are there people in Stargate? Are there big powers in Stargate besides the, I watched a little bit of that show. You have the gold. There must be others. Oh, and I have to go all the way around to get to that next one. Okay. Here, 1 second, let me hit a button. Okay, alright. Just had to turn down the heat. Sonia, do you have Star Trek Borg, Star Trek Klingon? Up here. Okay. Very hard to see that from above, but whatever. Oh, okay. Man, a list of Stargate powers. I had no idea. There you go, buddy. Every mine needs a bridge. Okay. Almost like you wish that the screen was just a little more zoomed out for this. Just making sure there's nothing else supposed to be doing with these guys. Okay, and I think that's maybe all of them except I think I might have left one on that first floor. Thank God I have this red shirt. No, I don't see one on the first floor. Oh no, there's more over there. Okay. A number of times, this is where my game stopped. Just because it was so difficult to go through here to keep track of everywhere you'd been, and to keep track of everything else you needed to be doing. That takes me through to... Yeah, okay. Where am I now? Yes, okay, I see it. Okay, so there we go. You notice how long that kind of took, and if I'd missed one of the guys on the other levels, when there were like 3 guys on a level, I would have had to go back and search for them. So, yeah. That level did kind of shut me down too when I was playing it as a kid. I'm Son Lavornik, leader of this colony. Many thanks for saving our operation. I hope we can return the favor someday. Things are tough here with these Ganalians continually wrecking our sonic impactors. We always need new ones. Starfleet informs me you have been given a device called a Tavad. That may have something to do with my research about the IFD here on Codis Mu 6. We may be able to help one another if you return here. Well. Oop, yeah. Codis. No. Nope. Warp 8. Engage. How are the repairs? Yeah, all good. The computer is less urgent. Have some repairs continuously sitting on the good stuff. Navigation less urgent. All good. Okay. Are we there? Uh-oh. The Ferengi. Look at that face. Oh, look at that handsome little boy. Don't shoot, Enterprise. Should I do a Ferengi voice? Don't shoot, Enterprise! I am merely Plock, a simple spice trader who only occasionally enters Romulan territory. I make a meager living, even if Starfleet Command does say I'm a smuggler. I'll make a deal with you. If you let me go, I'll tell you where to find the great Damon Radney, who makes many trips deep into Romulan space. I understand he even possesses the key to the Romulan subspace code. Surely this is more important than arresting me. Hello, Enterprise. This is Dr. Teleris. Come back to... Yeah. So how do we know how to find Damon Radney? We'll see. Thank you for beaming down this device you call the Tavad. It appears to have been built by the Senatorius, which ruled the galaxy 100,000 years ago. The Integrated Field Derandomizer was the Senatorius's main military weapon. I have found documents listing some of the IFD's cruel acts. After I study this Tavad, I may have some interesting answers. Well, thank you. Here, and let me also... I always start to lean back a fair bit, and I think it changes the mic pickup. Okay. Yeah. It's worth our while to search the CODIS cluster for him, but the CODIS cluster is a big place. It might help to check with Starbase 220 at CODIS Zeta 5A. They monitor a lot of the activity in this region. Dr. Talaris made it clear there's a lot more truth in the myths and legends about the IFD than I first suspected. It was my understanding the Integrated Field Derandomizer was an extremely powerful device of some sort. Those stories may have been more accurate than we know. We left the Strange Tavad device with Dr. Talaris. She may be able to discover more about it. We will return later to check on her progress. CODIS Zeta 5A. I think the instruction book for this game had a list of where the star bases are, but... Welcome to Starbase 220, I'm Admiral Hilioko. I haven't heard of this Daimon Randy you mentioned, but you might check Fizal's Happy Haven down on CODIS Zeta 5. All sorts of criminals show up there. CODIS Zeta 5. There's a good chance we'll find Damon Radney in an establishment called Fizal's Happy Haven. Sounds like an appropriate place for a Ferengi. The problem is that Ferengi don't like to be bothered unless they can smell a profit. We'll have to find something as valuable to Radney as those Romulan subspace codes are to us. Let's bring Troy. Worf. Who else do we like? McDermott. And, Nihei, sure. Ah, Troy's in uniform. Okay. Radney has Romulan subspace codes. He may sell them if you offer him the right price. We'll see, won't we? Look at all these aliens. And here's our music talent. Okay. Talk to my captain, maybe he'll help you. Can't get in here, huh? Radney is in the private room to my right. You may go enter. Okay, so I had to talk to that guy before the door would open. Just remember the 17th rule of acquisition: a contract is a contract is a contract, but only between Ferengi. Yeah. That's Damon Radney sitting across the table. Thank you. Okay. I'm Radney. If you want my codes, give me the name of someone who will buy all my sonic impactors. Well, we know that mining crew, so that's over. It's done. That's all we came here for. You're very lucky. I need to unload a hold full of sonic impactors. Since you're willing to give me the location of that mining colony, I'll pay you back with the current Romulan subspace codes. Good thing we helped out at that mining crew. And that's it. That's all we beamed down for. I'm gonna keep saving it, even though I don't really have to. There are passwords to get through all of this. We could put in a password and be at the last level. Romulan subspace message intercepted by Starfleet. IFD almost here. We must find it before our enemy does. Maintain current positions. Just a status check. This is the SS Nakatomi, Federation space freighter, located at Titris Iota 1. We are under attack by a ship of unknown origin. They have disabled our ship. Please help. Titris Iota 1. Titris? Titris? Okay. There it is. More Romulans just screwed around. Okay. Get both barrels at once so it gets through the shields, because the shields start to regenerate so quickly. He's almost done. Opening hail. I swear, it's like we triggered the Romulan fighting thing, even though I did hail the guy and accept a surrender the first time. Oh, and our communications took damage, so... Do not attempt to board us. Soon, all of the Federation will belong to Chodak. Come on. Oh my god, Romulans. Guys, I did not kill that guy. I let him surrender. Why do you keep doing this to me? None of those hit him? Really? Okay. Oh god. Come on, come on. We'll just have to kill so many Romulans. Okay, let me accept the thing and get the same dang message. Yep, cool. So, get this repairing going as we're out. Wow. We can get the transporter damaged enough that we can't actually beam anywhere and have to wait for it. Okay, repair everything. Just please get everything. Okay. So, the Nakatomi space freighter has been forcibly boarded by the crew of an alien vessel. The alien ship exploded as we arrived, and the captain of the hijackers hailed us from the bridge of the Nakatomi. They are prepared to fight. We have to rescue the Nakatomi's crew and take back the ship, but these beings seem aggressive. Be extremely careful. So we'll probably want Riker. We got Worf. And we'll take some more good tactical folks. Matthews and Worley. Okay. Oh, these guys are tough. Yeah, door key. These are the Chodak. As it turns out, there are a few different Star Trek games from this time where your kind of ultimate enemy is the Chodak, even though they are different games. They're always these kind of lizardy guys, although the exact portrayal does change. Okay, Worf. We're fighting big weird aliens. This is what we hired you for. And also, this is supposed to be a Federation ship. But it has an awful lot of green. This hurts us. Yeah, we can't get through it. Okay. Worf just walking through this ship. Another little path through the vents. Those are huge vents. You can just stroll through them. And this gets us back to, I think, where we started, perhaps? Let's see. Yep, Commander. Okay. Let's see what else we find here. Okay. That's where those go. And that changes the direction they're going so we can actually walk through them. If they're going against us, then they'll get us every time. Interesting little security system. Funny because the buttons are only on the one side, so... Computer key, okay. And he can't get through this, so I guess we're switching to somebody else. Matthews, you're up. Show us what you got. Ah, okay. So this must be where the computer keys are to go. We need to get Worf here so we can plug in the computer keys. And then a code, it looks like. Riker has the other key. Let's get him up here. He has also taken a lot of damage. Oh, I was talking earlier about how you get people to follow you. I think you need to use the command tool. Okay. Does not open. That is not a button. Yeah, and that does not take the door keys. Okay. That is where Worf went, isn't it? Okay. Let's see what else we have. I might have to bring up another map. Yeah, can't go there. And here's another one of these. Okay, Matthews, you're up. This? Had I been here before? No, I had Worf blast that from the other side, didn't I? Okay. So we just need to shut down those security. Yeah, there's the other computer key. Okay. No, Worf is elsewhere. Okay. Well, Worley, let's see what you can do. That's where Worf went. And now we just had what's-his-face go on the other side. See what else we got. Wait, this does not open. Keep Worf away from any blue barrels. Oh, yeah. So there's Worf. Yeah, it's okay. You know, Klingons have 2 spines, so they probably can't get a very serious injury from the blue barrels. Okay, this is the room with the pink in it. I know the episode you're referring to. And then he asked Riker to come in and give him a good old knifing, and yeah. And then it turned out they just needed to do science magic, and they got it, yeah, and he was fine. Yep. There's Matthews. Okay. So, we need to shut down these little security lines. Then we should be able to activate the computer stuff and blah blah blah. And Worf, yeah, Riker tells Worf to have his son do it, and Worf says, I have a son? So, what am I missing? What is this nothing? Possible I bring up another map, but this is, I think, a big part of this game is walking through these big areas slowly and trying to figure out where exactly you need to be to resolve these problems. Level design. And this goes back to where Worf is. Yes. Yes. Okay. So... we do the computer stuff, then we should be able to walk north on that narrow corridor, I'm gonna guess. This goes back to the area we started in. I'm afraid I might have to be bringing up a map again, like a dirty little cheater. Nakatomi Freighter. Oh, goodness. Wow, okay. So, where do I need to be? Maybe. Okay. But how do I shut off the little green lines? That is my issue. Yeah, that's that narrow corridor. Okay. Huh? Huh? Okay. I think we need her to go back through the vent. The green area, by my understanding. Right, and then these don't open. We have these that look like they might be buttons or something here. But they don't actually do anything. We have this set of buttons that looks like it must take the two computer keys that right now we have on the wrong side of the green lines. That means that there must be something we do with the green lines. Which one of these vents goes to a unique place? Huh? So, I love the episode of DS9 when we see Alexander again on a Klingon ship. Yeah, and he's going by a human version of his name, as I recall. He's going by Alexander Rosenko. Yeah, that's interesting. I think the worst part of it all is that... Nope, hang on. Okay. is that Worf is such a bad dad. Such a bad dad. Okay, so this is that. This is P. P goes to... there? Yeah. Okay. That's not interesting. This is above the shuttle. Yes. So this goes to the computers. Hey, Worley. We have M and N up here. M and N go to... Pink Room? And the Pink Room really does not have anything for us. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this map trying to figure this out. Yeah. A and B. A and B are there, they're behind the greens. Okay. So I also want... Wow. Killed by the ship. That has a link to a different... Oh my god. Come on. Nope. And that link is busted. Cool. Alright, well... None of those are buttons that can be pressed. M and N go to there. I might just have to have Worf and Matthews walk back through that security thing the wrong way. Tough it out, Worf. Hey, Worley. Okay, Matthews. Time to man up. This is where I got it. Yes. Uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah, you're dead, Matthews. Sorry, buddy. Worf, go pick up that idiot stuff. Oh, this is the wrong one. We want to be in the green and then go down to the end of the... Yeah. Just pick it up off his corpse and keep walking. Stand over here. No, it kind of gets me no matter where I am, even though it looks like there's geometry to it. Okay. But Worf is tough enough, so... Sorry, Matthews. Okay. So we can get Worley to man the rolls here. Okay. So, if I press a different button, does that open? I wonder if it's just turning off the, No. Okay, so... doesn't help us there. If we go back to the pink, I think we have areas there that are entirely controlled by the green barriers, our little green rays. Including this up here. Takes a bit to load between them, doesn't it? One more. Yeah, okay. All right. Always the last one I try. Of course. Hit detection on those is something. Okay. Now we are. Okay. Up here, and yes. Star Trek games have had a varying quality over the years. I think that's safe to say. Okay, and going through here is going to be a blast. So, save. Nice work, Worf. Okay, and this is the bridge. And it looks like we need a couple more computer keys. See what we can find. Yeah, and that door doesn't open because of course it doesn't. Okay, Riker, where are you again? Where else would we find more keys? Okay. That's C and D. Those go to some back rooms. So let us get your Worf back there. This hit detection. There we go. Okay. Okay, and another one of these barriers, so we are going to be pressing buttons one at a time again. Guys! Video games. Okay. Nope. Next one. Switch over. Takes a few seconds. Okay. Oop. Switch back. Wait a few seconds. Nope. Switch back. Wait a few seconds. Sorry. I just... And of course, it was the last one I tried, because how else could it happen? Okay. Oh, okay. Don't really need any health. Worf is good at health. Yeah, and this is blocked. Is there anything else in here? Come on. No? No. Okay, well... Good. I think I might just have to shoot them all anyway. Maybe that's why I'm here. Deal with the, pirates. Kind of. Next button. Hey, lucky that time. All right. You're always lucky eventually. Oh no, this is the other one to the bridge. I meant... the other one to the side room. There's nothing else? No, there is not. Okay. Try the other button. So guys, which captain? Which captain do we think we like the best? Honestly, I think for most of my life I've been a Picard girl. Being a good diplomat is so important. But man, what about action? Yeah, Cisco. Cisco punched Q? Yeah. Picard would never punch his boyfriend. Yeah, I love Picard. Cisco, a lot of the time, seems like perhaps an actual military officer, even though Starfleet is not supposed to be a military. And then also a religious figure. I like Cisco. Where does that go? Let's try that. Janeway, really a close second. Are we just talking about Janeway 7? Is that... I know a friend who's an English professor who has written a fair bit about how Janeway 7 is actually textual. About how Janeway 7 had an actual romantic relationship in the show, she says. Okay, so that goes to H. looks like it's just a small little room, but maybe that's where we get to do more of the Chodak. Yeah, nothing terribly interesting back here. I'm still looking for a couple of those disc things to put into the bridge to take control of the ship. First woman we see in the captain's chair. This is I. I think that's important, but I don't know, it doesn't... Maybe I'm bad. It doesn't as motivate me, I guess. Maybe I'm disloyal. Next button. Kate Mulgrew gives it an amazing attitude. Kate Mulgrew is a crazy actress, and I would love to see at some point Prodigy. I can't find first season of Prodigy because I don't have Paramount. Last button. Of course it's a last button. Which just has her on there. She is a crazy person, but I think her work on a lot of that stuff is wonderful. Providing voiceover to that, whatever Earth is Flat documentary. Yeah, great stuff. And that's all that's in here is a couple of power-ups, huh? Okay, thank you. You have watched Prodigy? Okay. I had to ditch Paramount. Yeah. That takes us back out to here. This is a dead end with nothing in it. That's great. Go out here, go to J and K. Looking at this map. You didn't watch it on Paramount, I got you. I might see if I can get somebody to put it up on a couple of places I hang out at. I don't do that much on my own. Okay. So that takes us to just this area. Yar indeed. Okay. So that looks like the crew back there, that must be. Go down the other wing. Yeah, okay, they're freaking out, but that's okay. Now we have this in here. You know what I like is pressing buttons. We still have Matthew's corpse sitting in that other bay. That's a shame, buddy. Like Scalzi's book Red Shirts, where like the red shirts basically exist only to die to try to pump up somebody else's story. Yeah. Are there more here? No, okay. And nobody is dropping any damn computer cards. Where else do I have to go in this crummy map? I think I've now No, there it is. I haven't been there. Okay. That is... right this way. Okay. Let's press some buttons. Last one. Last one. You bet it was going to be the last one. You win. It's always the last one. Almost always. Amazing. Okay. I am just mashing this button. Got him. Okay. Is there anything in here? I thought this was the room that was going to do it. Nothing? Nothing. Really? I thought this was the last room I had to go to on this ship. Where else haven't I been? Is there anywhere? Okay. I just had to check. We can't pull out the cards, so. And try to use them elsewhere. Huh. What if... This is just a dead end, right? Level design! Level design! Oh my goodness, it's amazing. Okay. So... Let's try something. Where is Riker? Oh, he's back down there. Riker, you tell me. Can you scavenge the door codes? The door keys. No, of course not. Never mind, Worf. So, what else do we want to do here? Just don't see anywhere on here I haven't been. Oh. No. Huh? You were looking for 2 door keys. And they're in their rooms at random. So it's a totally random, some guys can take it. Yeah, okay. So, in that case, I really do need to be checking each room. And there must be some rooms that I haven't checked yet. Well, Mr. Worf. Is K. K goes to where the prisoners are. Oh, he has the code. He has them. He did pick them up somewhere. Oh my god, I didn't even see it. I am stupid. Okay. I'm sorry. Lucky. Not a follower. Robson IQ, huh? Yeah, welcome. I didn't notice I didn't pick them up. I'm dumb. But I hope you like Star Trek. On behalf of the entire crew, I'd like to thank the Enterprise for rescuing us from those ruthless hijackers. That crew is 4 people. And interesting little uniforms here that I don't think we ever see anywhere else. And I assume we have a message? Oh, we do. Hello, Enterprise. This is Dr. Teleris. Come back to Codis Mu 6 one more time. I have discovered something of interest to you regarding the Tavad and the IFD. Also, Romulan message, Warbird Septius reports major battle with Chodak vessel. More than 500 casualties. Maintain positions. I like the look of this ship also. What a weird... It's like... Looks like somebody's shower head or something. Okay. Let's go to Codis Mu 6 then. Oh. Communications is so damaged, which is why that was so messy. Okay. And I guess the fixing doesn't happen while we're on an away mission. I thought it did, but that was so long it would have gotten everything. Welcome, Enterprise. I have just completed my examination of the TAVAD, the Temporary Artificial Variable Anomaly Device, TAVAD, creates a subspace conduit to any place in the galaxy. This one has been programmed to seek the IFD, but it needs a new supply of Pelentium and Rivarium to fuel it. I am beaming the Tavad back to you. Okay. I think we get those materials from that mining colony. Faith in Dr. Teleris has been rewarded. She has deciphered the riddle of the Tavad. It is a key that unlocks a subspace conduit directly to the IFD. Unfortunately, its energy supply is exhausted. We must find a supply of Pelentium and Rivarium. I think it's time we checked with our miner friends on Orientis Gamma 3b. We can go do that. Yeah, we're okay. I know what it looks like. Oof. Boy, those repairs are going great. The Enterprise has returned. Thank you very much for directing the Ferengi to our colony. His prices were high, but we needed those impactors. Beam down and visit. Whatever you need is yours. The miners are happy to repay a favor. They have been most kind in letting us get the Pelentium and Rivarium. Let's gather what we need and be on our way quickly. Yeah, sure. Worf. Oh yeah. That guy's dead. Yeah, we can't select him anymore. He died. Okay. Riker can get everybody to follow him with his command. Please take this Rivarium, and thanks again for your help. I don't remember this. Do I have to go to each of them again? Please take this Palentium. Please take more Vivarium. Please take this Palentium. Looks like it must go back to where we just were. Do I have to go down another floor? What just happened? Did the game just freeze? You've got to be kidding me. Oh my god. What?